Hey, are you ready to talk brand color? Today, I'm going to be diving into the power of color psychology and how you can actually use it with your branding to attract your ideal client subconsciously. So, I have talked about this all over the country. This is what got me on the TEDx stage. This is what got me featured in the Kajabi blog. This is what's booked me countless podcasts and stages and publications because people love chatting about color, and I'm more than happy to oblige them. So today's going to be kind of like a little mini masterclass. I want to chat about a couple of things because if you've been thinking about your brand color, if you've been thinking about a rebrand, if you're not attracting enough clients or visitors, this may be the reason. So we're going to dig into this, but I definitely recommend, and I will leave the links below, to my color quiz as well as my color class. This will dive in deeper because obviously we can only cover so much material here on the show. So ready? Let's do it. All right, so the first thing I want you to think about is your brand color your favorite color? If it is, chances are it's the wrong color. And I'm really sorry to have to tell you that, but I've seen it happen over and over again with literally hundreds of entrepreneurs. Because when we come into the online space, the first thing we think about is usually our brand name. So we look up the website and we reserve the URL, and then we start going on Pinterest and looking at, color scheme boards because we really want this to be the best reflection of us. But the problem is our audience gets confused. They have no idea what we're trying to communicate because all we're communicating is how we feel, not how they feel. So after the countless hours of hard work on your site, your content, your social media copy, your funnels, and all that, the worst case scenario is having your ideal client walk away or click away with an indifferent shrug because they don't really know if you're going to be the right person for them, and whatever, they'll just go somewhere else. So what is a way where we can grab our audience's attention and sidestep the normal week, month, or year it takes to normally convert them into a customer just by our brand color? It's a really cool thought, and it's one that is possible. I've done it. Countless students of mine have done it. So this is something that seems crazy, but I'm going to talk to you today about how to actually do that. So pretty much the first thing that you need to realize, which we've talked about, is your brand color has nothing to do with you. If your brand color is your favorite color, then the color choice means that your business, your website, your social media are 100% about you, not your client. And that's not what we want. Even though you may want this to be a reflection of you, that doesn't mean that that's the right thing. And even though we're taught this by a lot of business curriculums and website designers or brand designers, they all say to reflect you. I found the opposite to be true. It should have everything to do with your ideal client. And if you want to go deeper into this, you can read actually a fellow screenwriter, Donald Miller's book called Building a Story Brand, where he also confirms that we are meant to be the guide of the journey, not the hero. The leading role is for our customers and clients and them only. So that's where this reframe starts coming into work, where you can go like, holy moly, like teal. First of all, I have no clue what it means. Usually when I'm in a room speaking and I say, what does your brand color mean? Can someone raise their hand? Like one person does, and it's usually off. So the first thing is we have no clue what the color means. And secondly, we've chosen the color not based on the ideal client's needs. So the reason why I'm more qualified to talk about this than other people for the most part is because I grew up in Hollywood. I grew up reading about color psychology and watching some of the biggest directors, producers, cameramen, DPs, production designers release these incredible films. And it made me really question, like, why did this premiere go so well? Why was this audience totally enraptured by this story? And it really taught me a lot. So when I came into entrepreneurship and I applied this strategy, at first I didn't, so don't worry, I made tons of mistakes too. Everything blew up. And this was the only differentiating factor. So I had to really look at this and go, I think more people need to know about this, which is what started the journey. If you want to go deeper into it, there's actually a book called If It's Purple, Someone's Gonna Die. And it's a really fascinating book about color. And it does go through the primary light spectrum colors and shows you the movies they're used in and what that communicates to an audience. Because there's two things we need to consider how the audience is going to, react to the color, of course. But we also have to think about where it physically hits the body. And this is where my background in indigenous medicine is really interesting, because then you can start talking about hormone producing glands and how they interpret specific light spectrum colors. And so all of that together, I think, is absolutely the coolest thing. So bringing it back to your business, the first thing I want you to think about is, what is the one thing you want your ideal client to feel when they first see your brand? Think of a word. It could be hopeful, motivated, inspired, creative, passionate, empowered, artistic, whatever it may be. You need to be able to find the one word that you want them to feel. I don't care if you want them to feel 5. What's the first thing you want them to feel when they see your brand? A couple of business companies I just want to hit on that do this really well. Smile Direct Club, purple, resonates in the kidneys. It's all about building relationships. So that's why they, I think, really stand out as a brand beyond like the other, what do you call it, corrective, it's not braces, but you know what I mean. You can watch their commercials and then watch Smile Direct, and you'll see color huge. And actually the best commercials to watch, especially if you have Hulu, medication commercials. Holy smokes, do they know their color psychology? It's crazy, whether it's green or yellow or purple or orange, like you will see it. And now that I've pointed this out, you're going to start seeing it everywhere. A couple other companies that have this down, T-Mobile. They use magenta. Magenta is a powerful color, not necessarily in the body, but especially on screen and how people perceive it. 23andMe, they use green and magenta. Green is all about self-identity. I wonder why that happens, right? So I really want you to take a second and really understand color psychology can be the number one thing in your arsenal. And when you've nailed this brand color, whatever you decide on, and the color quiz and the color class are going to help you come to that conclusion, I want you to do a couple of things. I want you to do a photo shoot wearing this signature brand color. If you're stuck inside, no worries. You can shoot it on your phone. If you need specific education in that area, join the Visibility Lounge. We actually did a segment specifically on doing your photo shoot from home. Then I want you to rebrand your website so this primary brand color shines through. I want it everywhere. I also want you injecting it in your social media, your Facebook pages, and your Instagram. And I just want you to see what happens. 2 of my amazing students, Tiffany Purdy and Rachel Symington, did this process. Tiffany chose yellow, which now she calls Tiffany Yellow, and Rachel chose orange. Tiffany chose yellow because it was all about the future, and that really integrated well with her business and her ideal client. Rachel chose orange because it was the color of balance, which is really crucial for her audience. And they rebranded, they started, changing their Instagram and all this. And the traffic was just huge. They both said so much changed. They weren't having to work for sales anymore. Their accounts were growing. Their podcasts were growing. It was absolutely crazy. And here's the next thing that having a strong brand color that reflects your ideal client does for you, is it helps you be seen as the expert in your space. A lot of people don't even put a lot of time into their brand color. And so that's when mistakes happen. You're not necessarily seen as the expert. You might be popular, but you're not seen as the expert. And it's harder to book publicity. I've had clients that are $1 million earners, but we have a hard time getting them publicity because they don't have a cohesive brand. So this is where it can be really, really powerful. So this is what I want you to think about doing, because a brand color leads to a branded website, which leads to a great, powerful brand video, which leads to branded social media, which leads to branded programs and offerings, which leads to a branded press kit. You see what I'm saying? And that leads to a completely formed online identity people will understand, remember, and trust. And this naturally flows into podcast guesting, summit guesting, public speaking, and all kinds of other visibility and publicity opportunities that you've been dreaming about, but have maybe felt out of reach. So today, this doesn't need to be long. I just wanted to cover this in more detail so that you could understand why I talk about color psychology, why it's so powerful, and why your brand needs it. So again, if you're curious about what I think your brand color should be, I'll link the color quiz below as well as the color class. And if you want much more in-depth instruction on how to inject this into your brand, your visibility strategy and your publicity strategy, I highly recommend the Visibility Lounge because I will walk you through this step by step. In the meantime, feel free to send me a screenshot of your brand color, or once you've rebranded your Instagram, you can send that in the Facebook group or on my Instagram and reach out to me. I would be happy to see it and review it for you. In the meantime, I will see you in the next episode, and I can't wait to see you with your primary brand.